Jenaba Sonko, is Jenaba your wife? I mean, I received a whole lot of questions and a whole lot of questions of that nature.
Yeah.
So it was a very good time in Basse. I enjoyed it. Although I had a little breakdown in Jarasoma, but I mean, thank God we are here.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, since I got a excuse of duty, I got an ED since Wednesday because I'm not feeling well. Actually, I knew what was wrong with me, so I didn't need to take medications. It was just a matter of them giving me medications and asking me to go home and sit down, relax. So since Wednesday, I've been indoors, which is a bad thing. So I'm trying to make sure that during the week I'll just go and exercise. But like I said, I already knew what was wrong, so I did not have to take any special medication and stuff. But the fact that I just had to be indoors, just that is a bit frustrating. But I had to be away from people, so I just had to be indoors for a few days. But anyway, it was a good rest, and it allowed me to just reflect on so many things, you know.
I believe sometimes you need it. I mean, it's like following the daily activities. Sometimes will deprive you from maybe getting yourself together, being indoor, I mean, to have a whole lot of things to think about, to figure out, in fact, to relax. I mean,
and just to be away from people.
Sometimes the body needs to alert you, look, you definitely need this. So you have to come back home, sit, relax, and, take a few days off.
Yeah, and it was really good because I was not, the fact that I was away from people, just that was a good thing for me.
I'll be needing an ED next week.
No, you need to get an ED when you deserve an ED, not because, I deserved an ED. I know I deserved an ED.
I can get an ED.
But that's provided you're sick. So thank you so much for joining us, Momo on the newspaper review. It's always good to have you here. So as usual, we have the African proverb, and our newspaper review guest is already here, Momo Dumboj, to help us analyze some of the stories that we have on the papers. And today we'll be having a conversation with the Food Safety and Quality Authority. So the Food Safety and Quality Authority is mandated to control the quality and safety of food in the country, and we'll be taking a closer look at how they do their work and developments coming up from their area as well, looking at a toll-free number that they decided to launch, as well as just other concerns relating to food safety and quality in the country. That is our community watch today. And on social issues, we'll be taking a look at women in politics, because it is important to note that in the Gambia, women represent more than half of the population, which is 50.5%, and women also comprise of a majority of Gambian registered voters, which is about 58%. And again, despite this, you could see that when it comes to women in the political arena, it's very limited. Men get to dominate it, because out of 58 members of the national, 8 ward councillors. So we'll be taking a look at if there should be a quota system or not. Do we need a quota system, or we do not need a quota system? So that's the debate we'll be having today. And the debate already started on Wednesday. We will be joined by Lamin Fall, who strongly believes that there shouldn't be a quota system. He feels like it is too easy for women. And we have Lala Ture, who will be coming here to say, hey, we've been fighting for so long. We deserve a quota system. We're not being handpicked, but we deserve to be there. So today the debate is between the two of them.
It's going to be very interesting today in the studios.
Right.
I mean, having such a debate. I mean, I know a whole lot of people have a lot to think about this. I mean, we'll be having it later.
Yeah. So looking at just the statistics I read, it tells a lot already. But anyway, it's not my debate today. I'm just going to relax and allow Lamin Fall and
let's chill and enjoy the debate like high school days.
Exactly. Let's allow them. And on sports, we'll be joined by Momodo Gajaga to take us through what is happening in the world of sports.
Don't worry, I know what Gajaga is going to talk about. Anyway,
it's quite obvious.
Anyway, congratulations to Senegal. I mean, this is the first time they deserve it, Jenna.
They do.
I mean, on several
you were supporting Senegal yesterday.
On several occasions, they went on finals, but they could not make it. I mean, Cameroon on several occasions they did this.
All right. So what about African proverb? What's the African proverb today?
Okay, if you pick up one end of the stick, you also pick up the other.
Right. So if you pick up one end of the stick, you also need to pick up the other side. So for me, this is telling me that you have to be ready for the consequences of your own actions. That is what this particular proverb is telling me, because you do not, every action, attracts a specific reaction. So you wouldn't want to take a decision and don't want to deal with the consequences of the decision. You can't do that. You cannot want to start a business and is not foreseeing some of the risks or the consequences that are attached to it, you have to be ready to take it on. Then you can't just choose to start a business, and when the consequences come, you want to run away. No, you're not ready. So in any situation, when you pick up one side of the stick, better be ready to pick the other side.
Yeah. I mean, this proverb is telling you to be ready for challenges.
Right.
I mean, there are always two sides. I mean, if you might predict, okay, this is going to be easy,
yeah.
but what about if it's not easy?
Right.
I mean, I want to do this thing, but what about if this thing happens? So
exactly.
I think you need to be prepared. It's about being prepared all the time. Mr. Mboj, what's up? What do you make of this?
Did you just say what's up?
Yeah,
what's up?
Yeah, what's up?
You got it perfectly well. I mean, you take the good as well as the bad.
Yep, you need to.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, so you have to take the good as well as the bad.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
happens,
and also this, kind of tells me sometimes you bring a child into the world. You see, you bring a child into the world, and you do not want to take the responsibility of raising a child. You brought the child did not ask to come, excuse me. You brought the child, so it comes, this is in the Quran, it's in the Bible. These are not just things that we're talking about. But you bring the child into the world, you have to be ready as the parent as well to make sure the child is educated.
Well, it's your
the child has healthcare
it's your
and all of those things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you do not bring a child by just picking up. You've already picked up one side of the stick by bringing the child into the world. So on the other side, you have to educate the child, the health care of the child, the mental health of the child. It comes with a lot of things.
The character, building the character.
Exactly.
I make a distinction between a father and a dad.
Beyond.
Oh, it just goes beyond the biological, stuff. That is the social being, the social one there, making sure that trying to help you build your character.
This is a social issue. But Balde, what I've realized, I'm so good at coming up with social issues topics. Mr. Mboj, let's accept this, you guys.
I definitely accept.
I am so good at coming up with social issues. Excuse me, okay, that needs to be acknowledged. Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Mboj, for helping us as well analyze the African proverb that we have. So we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we will head right on to the newspaper review.
Begin your SUV life. S-Pass Motors, the new authorized dealer for Kia. Visit us today or call us on 3522 222 353 2222. Want it? Order for it and pay quickly using QuickPay on the QMoney platform. With great technology comes ease and convenience. Get a glimpse of what a comfortable life is with QMoney by dialing *323# now. Call 133 for more information. QMoney, Sunyu Kalpe.
Welcome back from that short break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning, and now we're heading right on to the newspaper review. Well, looking at the headlines, they're quite familiar, things that we've been talking about the entire week. But yes,
well,
there's need to go back to it.
Let's talk about this, Mr. Mboj. I mean, let's start with this, Janava.
Okay.
When you look at some of these papers, I think the whole of last week we have similar stories on these papers.
Yeah.
And when you look at them, it's like all these newspapers are covering the same stories. I mean, they talk about KMC, they talk about MFDC, they talk about certain things. I think journalism goes beyond that. As a VJ, I mean, I think journalism goes beyond that. I mean, there are a lot of things to write about.
Yes, but you have to understand as well. with the MFDC case, with the KMC case, they have been running stories. There have been additions to it. Things have been happening. Remember when they filed that motion to the High Court, and the High Court came with one decision, but again the main suit was pending. This was what was released recently. So they've been rolling, they've been ongoing stories. That is why they've been featuring in the papers regularly. And possibly they are not, it's not even over yet. Yeah, so far, for instance, with the MFDC, I'm sure we will get to it, they paraded 2 of the captured economic soldiers. So that story will move on. What next?
Yes, I understand
so this is
what
the issue.
you're saying,
this is
but
the
I
point.
think it's important to drive our attention to certain things too. I'm talking in the interest of newspapers and media.
Well, you call yourself a journalist. Why don't you do that? It's easier to tell others
to
do it. It's easier to tell others to do it. Hey, look, well, if your point is a general point, that maybe there should be more variety, you know, in our stories, and covering even more of perhaps marginalized people. You see, that sort of thing. Exactly. Yes, I accept. But again, you also cannot be too censorious of the fact that they've been, you know, following these stories, following the development of these stories. They were not necessarily repeating themselves. There were additional facts, you know, coming out. These are ongoing stories. That is the reason. And you'll probably have some more, depending on what happens in Casamas, depending on, even with the KMC, the Commission of Inquiry. It will go on, but within certain limits. So how is it going to unfold? Do you want them to simply forget about that?
Yeah, so I think we were going to complain, in fact, if we do not see these headlines as well, because these are developing stories.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's just it. But I know what you're talking about, the fact that the whole week it's what we're talking about, but eventually it will phase out when everything ends. Yeah, but still, there's need to have more human interest stories on the newspaper. It just makes it exciting. So what's on The Voice?
Okay, all right, let's look at The Voice. I mean, judiciary in talks with US Bar for training programs, and lawmakers commence last parliamentary session ahead of April elections. President Barrow urges judiciary to maintain resolute in delivering justice. MFDC against illegal timber logging, says MFDC leader. KMC Commission of Inquiry begins hearing today. School of Enrolled Nurses and Midwives in Bansang shut down.
Yes, so on the point, we have High Court orders to immediately release General Solbaji as well as others, and MFDC parades 2 captured economic soldiers, denies torture, and BA President urges government to fully implement the TRRC report. And again, High Court nullifies KMC Commission of Inquiry. Quite strange that it's beginning. We will get to talk about that. And also Barrow opens legal year. So I think something that's really worth talking about and given enough prominence is the fact that the School of Enrolled Nurses and Midwifery is shut down, and this is because there's not enough food supply for these people. According to unconfirmed reports, we are aware that the principal was feeding these people from his own pocket, which we are yet to confirm, but this is what we are told. So however, because of this, then they have a press release saying that all of the students have to go back home till further notice due to some of the constraints that they are dealing with. Quite familiar issue there.
Yes, we've made all sorts of allegations, but that's just one side of the story.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to hear the other side. And yes, and what are they doing to resolve these things? What happened? How come they didn't get their food impressed? So obviously we'll ask all these basic factual questions and strike. I do not know the conditions there. We're beginning to see a lot of strikes. It is important that you protest, as it were, when things are not right. But we should try to get more negotiated settlements. So we have to, it will be interesting to hear what the Ministry of Health says about that, because with them as well, recently they appeared before the National Assembly Select Committee, and we realized what was going on there according to the audit report. So when these people say that they had not received their food impressed, and then you put it, juxtapose it with what's been happening in the National Assembly, then you are worried, we hope that wasn't part of the whatever millions gone missing.
The $6 million dollars.
So we hope that we'll be able to sit and negotiate and the like.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So do you think negotiation, I mean, there are a lot of negotiations that have happened in relation to issues that happen in Gambia's health sector, a lot of negotiations, and at the end of the day, you know, it's not fruitful till these people take action, as in want to strike or want to protest.
Possibly, but I will also remind you of this. That is how democracies work.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever going to be settled finally, once and for all, we all agree. That's not how human beings are like. So this constant battles, as it were, you're bound to have them between different institutions.
Right.
Because here, whoever is the authority, you're trying to balance out different interests.
Yeah.
You can never have just one interest in a society. So we need to have that mindset. We are never going to have it when we've finally settled any issue and everybody has agreed.
Yeah.
That is just unrealistic.
Yeah.
So you constantly have this back and forth. What's up?
Okay, well, look, I just hope this issue here is solved, because it's very unfortunate.
When you look at the School of Midwives in Bansang, it is a very important institution,
right.
and many people have gone through this institution. I mean, it is going to delay them if they are to be sent home, I mean, at this time, because most of them are supposed to be learning, and these are people that are needed when it comes to our hospitals. So it is a delay. I hope it is solved as early as possible.
Well, let's put it this way. If there's something wrong, and this is what it takes to correct that, I support it totally. But if perhaps this was an overreaction, it could go the other way. Yeah. It could be that there was not sound judgment in the association, how they thought about it.
Exactly.
It could be, it could go the other way. So it just simply depends. We need to get all the facts and hear the Ministry of Health.
When you come to,
version.
let's look at character. When you look at the human being's character itself, it's difficult to make a final judgment on these things. In this case, I think, I mean, we have to go back to the past. I mean, things that happen. I think for me, this is the first time I'm hearing this thing.
This is not the first time.
This is not the first time.
This is not the first
okay.
time.
If it is not
it's
the
not
first
happening
time,
for the first time.
Okay. If at all this was the first time, I mean, this is the first time. I mean, what about previous years? I mean,
this has been happening. I'm not saying it was out on the public domain, but I know students who were at Bansang
of food supply.
They talked about how difficult things are. So this has been happening. And hey, this is Gambia. Like, you see something like this and make yourself believe this is the first time it's happening.
Well, I think, I mean, a school like that, School of Midwives in Bansang, I mean, most people are come from different parts of the country to go stay there.
Yeah,
I think it should be very comfortable.
But when it comes to Gambia, those things are not a justification. There are a lot of areas, you know, where there needs to be just the proper facilities, but it never happens. You know, like I said, it's just Gambia. And it's not just Gambia. I think it's just an African problem that we have to deal with as a continent. So, yeah.
I'm not sure whether I'll go with African. Maybe.
Well, it's not just happening in the Gambia.
Absolutely, but my point is not only happening in Africa either. If you go to other parts of the world, maybe
it is other parts of the world.
You see similar
in
stuff.
India, I know it happens in India because I've spoken to students studying in India, Gambian students, who talk about this. And at a time, I don't know if it's still happening, and it was the direct responsibility of the Gambian government to give them their supplies or whatever. So it's just a thing.
So to my mind, it's very dangerous to say Gambia or Africa. Do not make yourselves out to be sort of uniquely bad or uniquely deviant or uniquely this. It doesn't exist. Whatever you see in Africa, in Africans, we've seen it elsewhere.
Yeah, but it's just how prevalent.
It's normalized. So let's accept it from that broader base. Then we tackle our specific problems.
Yeah, but
you know, it helps in how you think about things when you have that background, as it were. Then it helps in how you think about things.
But they're just things that are more prevalent here. It's just there.
The effect the damage, certainly it's more visible.
Here.
Everybody can see it. There's no denying it. But what I mean is the principle, that human beings do this sort of thing.
Yeah,
That's
it's
human
a general
beings
thing.
do that.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
right.
but still, it doesn't mean that I cannot see the bad, terrible rubbish that I do to myself, that we do to ourselves.
Let's move on.
Yeah, should we talk about the Bar Association President Salih Tal urging government to fully implement the TRRC reports? We are still waiting. We're still waiting. What are you looking forward to?
Are you surprised?
Well, they have
you're
3
still
months.
waiting?
No. It's normal. It's a timeline. It's like a timeline that is put in place so the president can decide to come out with, his final decision.
6 months? I
Yes,
think 6 months
sort of.
since
it was submitted.
To publish a white paper.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a really very, very difficult thing. The president will be in some difficulty taking certain decisions.
Yeah.
Remember, the recommendations are not binding. Everybody wants him to implement them fully, to implement all the recommendations, but we know that in the world of politics that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
People consider, well, he could be different and start moralizing and all of that. Then to which I say, you are only saying that but because you are not in power. When you are in power, all different pressures, you feel what you see is completely different from what we see and that sort of thing. So that's going to happen. We opted for a Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission.
Yeah.
The reconciliation will have to come in, which isn't to say that there wouldn't be any prosecutions, the justice bit. So this is it. You will have the prosecutions. How? That's going to be another path, another problem there. But again, who are the people that are going to be pardoned?
Yeah.
There will be the amnesty bit. Some people will be pardoned. So how are we going to handle that?
Yeah.
How are we going to handle that? So implementation, well, perhaps in some areas it's easier said than done.
Yep, easier said than done. And
the prosecutions will take another its own ritual and ceremony. It's own, God knows how long it will take before they can establish and even get the people to prosecute them. So this will go on for years.
Yeah,
we all know that. So, but immediately perhaps the issue will be those who would be pardoned or given amnesty.
Yeah.
How are we going to handle that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, High Court nullifies KMC Commission of Inquiry. According to this report by The Point, it says that the minister cannot just set up a commission, just a commission as big as this, just like that. So Justice Mahoney said the minister failed to fulfill preconditions prescribed by the Local Government Act before instituting a commission of inquiry. And Justice Mahoney further said the minister acted beyond his powers to give the commission powers of a High Court judge.
But I'm also saying here...
be careful. Let's be careful with that story.
Yeah.
Read the headline again, nullifies.
Yes.
I mean, have I studied...
I'm seeing here,
it says KMC
Commission of Inquiry begins hearing today.
So I don't know what's happening.
So this is it. So this was what I was saying.
The story by Alaji Baba.
No, when I looked at the headline, I said, suddenly, have I lost... Do I just don't understand the meaning of nullify anymore? Because from what I understand, nothing happened.
Yeah, that's what
that
it says
isn't
here.
true at all. No such thing happened at all. What happened was, of course, you can form a commission of inquiry, but the powers, you are restricted in what sort of powers it will
because
have.
the High Court actually is giving them limitations now.
They're
actually taking a look at areas that they can't act on. That's what I'm aware of. But I'm seeing a new development here, saying that High Court nullifies KMC Commission of Inquiry.
No, it wasn't a new development. I think it was just
but that is what the point is telling us.
A misdescription.
Yeah.
They misdescribed the situation, that's all.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll be able to correct this, because nullify it means not happening. It's not legal. It shouldn't happen. That is what this means. So hopefully they'll be able to adjust this. So Ibrahima, do you have an interesting headline there before we go?
Let's quickly look at the MFDC. Again, warns against illegal timber logging, says MFDC leader. Well, I mean, it's a very, very big story. I mean, people are talking about it, and we've seen videos circulating, on social media. the MFDC leader, Salif Sadio, talking and warning Gambians, warning Senegalese. Mr. Mbodj, how do you say that?
Well, he would do that, wouldn't he? The point that you made there, that they are not involved in timber, in illegal logging. Well, we've had many reports who say that part of how they finance their operations is
timber.
Involvement in timber.
Yeah.
So, of course, you would expect him to say that they don't. But we've got many reports saying that actually that is the case. Just as we've seen a BBC report that also implicated our people.
Yeah.
So you have both the MFDC
Parties.
and Gambian people as well involved.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And according to the documentary, people in high offices were involved in it. So this is it, and it's becoming this, especially with this timber thing, this is really the first time, I think, for instance, when I heard that the MFDC had roadblocks on Gambian soil, this is the first time I've heard about that.
Yeah.
So it seems as if the timber trade, the illegal timber trade, is sucking us into this Casamance, well, they call themselves separatists and the operations in Senegal. So this is really where we are linked. Perhaps, I mean, this has been going on since 1982. You know, but Gambia was largely unaffected. Of course, you would have certain implications because of the borders.
Exactly.
But mainly, we didn't hear about it much.
Yeah.
Only that in Senegal this happened or that happened. But now it seems the timber trade will suck us in.
All right. Thank you so much, Mamoudou Mbodj, for joining us on the newspaper review. I'm afraid that is all we have time for. So now on Community Watch today, we'll be taking a look at something very interesting, as we have officials of the Food Safety and Quality Authority who are mandated to control the quality and safety of food in the Gambia. So we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at how they do their work and developments on their site, which has to do with them coming up with a toll-free number and just concerns relating to food safety and quality in the Gambia. We'll be right back.
I am the light goddess. Everything I touch turns into light. I am the light at the end of the tunnel, and my technology is the answer. I am the happiness in your life. I keep you connected, and I am Q-Power. I am Q-Cell. I am Sunyabus. We innovate, others follow. Call 111 for more information.
With so many things to do in a single day, it's important to have a network you can trust. When there's family and friends to connect with and business calls to make, you need a network that is reliable and fast. Talk longer, browse faster, go farther, and roam wider. When your network is solid, the world is your oyster. Q-Cell, your trusted network in the Gambia.
nga noro tarale birin dunia be datila ada ben na baluwo konole nsulata norol pour kan na dokuwol ke kan na bungol lo kan na fengol fi hanim fanan kan na kanunyol je noro ka kuol sone yande woto Q-Cell ya Q-Power sanya kutole nati isela kas power sotono katabake anin nyin Q-Cell la nyin code kuto ila dunia malandi anin nyin star 363 has katabake hanna tara ibela suwo kono ila office ko anin dulalo star 363 has command sign Q-Power ki la dunia mala malandi Q-Cell sunyu boss ntolle nga silo walang dole mol noma.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. Like I mentioned before we went for the break, we're now joined by officials of the Food Safety and Quality Authority about to talk about, I know we've dealt with their mandate before, but, some of these things are not enough because you don't know who's tuning in newly and wants to know what they do, some of the developments that they have on the table, as well as just concerns that are coming from the public when it comes to food safety and quality in the country, which is a lot anyway. We had a heated one the last time that we had an officials from the Food Safety and Quality Authority, because this is an authority that is, given that opportunity to control certain things. Why not hold them accountable when you have them? And that's exactly what we're about to do. So we're joined by Etienne Silva, Communication Officer, and Alimatu Balde, Risk Communication Officer at the Food Safety and Quality Authority. Thank you so much for joining us, Etienne Silva, as well as Alimatu Balde. Yes.
Thank you for having us too.
All right, it's good to have officials from your authority here once again. Like I mentioned, sometimes it's not necessary to take you back, but it is, because sometimes you do not know who's tuning in for the first time. And authorities as such, it is important that the education that is needed, it's reminded often. So Etienne, as the communications officer, I think it's fair that we start with you. We know you're mandated to control food safety and quality in the country, but what do you do beyond that? How do you control that narrative?
Just like our mandate puts it, we are responsible for regulating food and feed items in the country, and that is the food and feed items that come into the country and those that are destined for exports. And how do we do this? We ensure that there is surveillance on these food items. We have our inspectors across the country. You go to Abdalai along the border, we have 2 inspectors. The same thing in Farafenni. Soma, Mansakonko, which is the administrative town, we have 2 inspectors and our regional bureau, and the bureau covers the region. You go to Janjangbure, the same thing is happening there, and Basse. But here, which is the head office, we have our inspectors inspecting from Banjul to Brikama, and we conduct daily inspections. And sometimes we do it strategically. In a week, we dedicate it to supermarkets. We go there, look out for the way food items are stored. We look out for expired food products. And we also go to restaurants, how neat those restaurants are, how do they prepare the food items, how are those food items stored. We also use those opportunities to sensitize them, because we know in as much as they are there to make profit, we understand some of them don't understand the food safety issues, the implications, you understand. Some people may not know whether or not it is good to sort out cooked and uncooked food items in a fridge. So it is our responsibility not only to uphold the Food Safety Act, but also to sensitize them. In the markets, we also go to markets to inspect, to make sure food business operators do not sell expired food products. We also make sure they sell food items that are placed on raised platforms. But we discourage this act, placing food on the floor. We are trying to discourage it. If we come across it, we make sure we sensitize people, or we discard them off. But how do we make sure we efficiently and effectively uphold our mandate? We have to make sure we have ears and eyes on the ground. The public has to come up. This is why we want to make our work and this relationship very easy. You understand? By coming up with a toll-free line, which is 1299. Because in the past, people have been meaning to reach out to us through various means, and this used to come at a cost. You want to reach out to us, you call the Gamtel line, and then you have to buy credit. Some don't have credit, you understand? And you have a genuine complaint that you would want to lodge. And if you don't have credit, it does not reach us. But now it is free of charge. You can use QCell, you can use any other line to reach us. So basically this is our mandate, and this is what we are trying to do.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, we will have a conversation with Ali Matubalde, Risk Communication Officer here, because I can remember back in 2020, the Food Safety and Quality Authority of the Gambia have informed Forea, this is a story from Dawn in Forea, that says they are working on banning the act of wrapping food with newspapers. And according to them, the ban is expected to commence in July next year. And that July is 2021. And this particular interview was done by Abubakar Jata, a scientific officer at the authority there, and they have sensed that newspaper inks brings about some sort of contamination when it comes to the food that we eat. So I want to know how far with this, because we are now in February 2022. This was supposed to commence back in January 2021. So I don't know what went wrong.
Thank you, Jinaba. You are right. There was a time when we deem it necessary to make a research on the use of these printed newspapers. Amongst them is the newspapers that are imported into this country. We've seen that there are a lot of risk associated with the use of newspaper. Number one, the hygiene aspect of it was a problem. Secondly, the ink from the desk review that we did, we've seen that so many publications, journals, have it that the ink that is used to print these newspapers has a lot of risk, which includes, of course, cancer. So this, we saw this, and then we deemed it necessary to sensitize the public to avoid the use of newspaper, more specifically the food business operators and those that sell ready-to-eat foods. And we all know when we buy bread and butter or bread and sauce, the likelihood that the food will come directly in contact with the ink of the newspapers is very high, and then the risk could be very high as well. So therefore, we came up with this initiative of giving out a press release that we really want to ban this. But then there was a lot that was not done. So meaning that we need a lot of homework to do before we actually see this thing materialize. Number one, before you ban somebody from doing an act, you must have at least provided an alternative for that individual, which was lacking in this sense. Because in as much as we want people to stop using these newspapers that they have been using for decades, definitely we must have given them an alternative. And this alternative is to encourage other business operators that are the importers of the newspapers or the printers of newspapers to print papers that are non-ink. And we went as far as inviting the business operators, that the people who are responsible for importing these newspapers, that for them to import papers, plain papers that can be used to wrap food. So this is where we stopped, and then at the end of the day, we had to give people time to,
but Mrs. Balde,
to
develop. Don't you think, as government, not just as government, as institution, as agencies, we're so good at having press releases when it comes to when we want to ban things, but we do not give the public feedback as to what happened, where did you stop, what happened, what more can be done. I think that is very necessary, Echen.
Yes, you're right. I believe
Mr. Silva,
we should have come up with a presser to explain why the delay. But it's still on the cards. We are hopeful. I cannot say for certain, and I cannot give another promise again, because we may be coming back here again and the same question may arise. But then, like she said, homeworks are currently ongoing to come up with an alternative, food graded materials, because to be honest, we are all consumers. You don't want to have your bread wrapped with a newspaper. Gambian newspapers are not good, more so the ones that are being imported. Go to the ports and see for yourself the way and manner in which they are stored in that container. They are stacked with these used clothes. You understand? We have gone there with your crew, and we have seen for ourselves. You come here, the plastic bags that people use to put this hot ebe and other non-food graded materials that are not okay. But we are working hard. The research is ongoing, and we are also working with stakeholders to see how best, like she said, the importers, how best they can bring, you know, if not only plain papers, but other items that are, you know, they can use as alternatives, so that the food business operators can also use. Because sometimes they are also saying, you know, these alternatives also come at a cost. Because if you ask a shopkeeper, a grocery shopkeeper, Rapan Momburusi Kate, sorry for the
no, it's okay.
We are communicating.
You know, she will say, he or she will say, the plain paper will cost $1. You understand? And you wouldn't want to pay $1. Sometimes myself and my colleagues would prefer, you know, to wrap our bread, you know, with a plain paper, and even pay an extra $1 for that plain paper. But how many people will afford that? You know, so that's the problem. But we are working on that, and I mean, you know, that's a lesson.
Coming back to Mrs. Baldes, I mean, I don't think, I mean, we should wait for an option. I mean, maybe looking for a plan while our people are dying when it comes to wrapping papers with our food. I mean, as far as you've gone to a point whereby you discovered that, I mean, this is bad for our health, I think it's important to act as soon as possible.
You are right.
Yes.
Mr. Balde, we are right. We have not stopped completely. Because as when ITN introduced, we have our officers all over the country, and one of their mandates is to ensure that communication is a key. And in the process of inspection, they do a lot of risk communications. They talk to these food business operators, and we are, as far as the office is concerned, on a daily basis, we are trying to discourage the use of these newspapers on a daily basis, because when we go out for inspections, we also give them health education. And discouraging these newspapers is part of it. It's just that maybe we are not going on air, we are not going to the TV, we are not making press releases, but on the ground, we are talking to these sellers,
my problem is,
food sellers.
In the Gambia, certain ways of approaching certain things doesn't work here.
It's to enforce.
Come and tell the shopkeeper, I mean, newspaper barhood. So I prefer you taking the newspaper and banning it completely. They will have another option because our health is more important.
It's very crucial. And then here, what is important is to enforce the laws. This has to be put into a regulations, and we have started working on that. We have already drafted the first one, the regulations on the ban of newspapers, and most probably by the end of the first quarter, we will come up with these regulations. And in that, once it is ready, it is gazetted, and then it is approved, it is made into law, definitely you will see us banning these newspapers physically.
Yeah, because I'm not into gazetting, putting it into law. I'm just tired of the laws. I am tired of laws right now.
I mean, we've been hearing that for a long time, that newspapers would be banned.
It's very good that the media is putting up pressure. You understand? The media has to do its job to make sure also the stakeholders, the servants of the public, act on what you people are demanding. You understand? It is your responsibility to call for action. And anytime you want to talk to us, anytime you want to see us on anything you want to discuss, our doors are open. And I'm very happy that you're bringing this up. You understand? We'll work towards it. And these are opinions that are going to be taken seriously. If we go back, we are going to give a report, engage our authority regarding what you have, brought up, because it is a concern. It is a public, safety concern.
Right.
And we are all
and the thing is, the fact that the study has already been done. We know this can be cancer. It can cause cancer. Then it is putting pressure on our health sector.
Definitely.
As well. So all of these things are connected. So you could see our health sector would suffer for it. We know the health sector in the Gambia. So American cancer 1 2 Dakar. Family bobu, the burden on those people. Ak dalasi boy fay wala tala boy fay pour utpilin paper rap samburu. Ban lay fokk ne moy gëna dem. Xej na ordinary person bi du ko understand. Why swing city economics be attached to it, then we'll be able to know what's right and what's not.
One thing I don't tend to like about laws in the Gambia, I mean, we banned plastic bags here, And we are still seeing plastic bags. I think you saw a video that I sent you from Basse. I mean, plastic bags all over. We still have them in this country.
Right.
So our laws, I think we need to take them very seriously. Yes.
Yeah, well, beautiful.
That is a discussion for another day.
Yes.
We wouldn't want to delve into an issue regarding the National Environment Agency.
Yes.
But
let's say, yes.
Why? You know why
serious.
it's connected? She talked about Ebe. She talked about people using plastic. He brought it because because people are using plastic bags to buy Ebe. People are using plastic bags to buy oil, and sunko sorti sisi jerbu. Dinko de sorti ni de dinko de tek.
I think if this regulation is to be upheld, we would work hand in hand
together
with stakeholders, National Environment Agency, perhaps the Ministry of Health, to make sure it is given the attention it requires. You made mention of something very important. It is good to come up with laws, but some people find it difficult to uphold them, to implement these laws. But be rest assured, we have come up with 2 regulations, and interestingly, these regulations are effective. The registration and licensing, people are adhering, to it. We are having this food fortification regulation that was launched sometime around the end of last year, and this year it is going to be implemented. That all food items in the Gambia are supposed to be fortified. You understand? That are coming into the Gambia are supposed to be fortified. So there is going to be people will be discouraged from selling or consuming food items that are not fortified.
Okay, what is food fortification? Let's ask.
Can you?
Food fortification basically is the addition of a micronutrient to a main food. So in this case, we have come up the Gambia with 3 food vehicles. That is flour. We all know how much we consume flour in this country. Vegetable oil and salt. Basically, every Gambian consumes this on a daily basis. So therefore, it was recommended that these 3 food vehicles are fortified with vitamin A, iodine, and then iron. So, and now it is mandatory. It is mandatory that these food vehicles must be fortified with these mentioned micronutrients to ensure that every Gambian does not lack these micronutrients. So it is now a regulation. It is now by force for anybody that is selling or producing these food vehicles to ensure that they are fortified. So
and we will roll out a sensitization. It is good to sensitize people before taking action. So a sensitization will start in earnest, and once that is done, it will be enforced. So you will realize you and I will consume fortified wheat flour, vegetable oil, and salt. When you are cooking, you will make sure you consume salt that is iodized. Likewise, the gentleman. You understand? But I just don't want us to make not to be fair with the topic of discussion, which is the toll-free line.
Yeah, I was going to come to that.
And
I was going to close. So what is the toll-free? This is an opportunity. The reason why we had to jump on that, because this is even more significant than toll number. We agree, we don't agree. The topic that I brought now, it was just an opportunity. I was capitalizing. When I saw, these people are coming, this was on my mind for so long. I said, hey, I have to capitalize on it.
And these are things that people love to know.
It means you people had to capitalize on this opportunity.
No, man capitalize. It's not do the man capitalize the opportunity.
It's a good one.
And it came in handy.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Okay, so talk about the toll-free number finally before we
The toll-free line is 12.99.
Okay.
It's 12.99. And the reason behind the introduction of the toll-free line is that, like I said earlier, people wanted to connect with us. But it has been expensive. Or some didn't even know our number. Now the number is as easy as it is. $12.99 and you'll get to us. And also there is another thing we want to address here. There are people expressing concerns on the sale of soon to expire food products. These are food items like biscuits and milk products that are sold on wheelbarrows. If you go to Serakunda, there is a junction called Expiry.
Well, we have them at the Lion House in Serakunda, at that junction.
So there is a Lion House
Lion
here.
House in Serakunda.
Where's the lion?
I think due to time constraints,
So now, people are saying, speculating that those food items are expired. Whether or not some are expired, we are doing our
investigations.
Yes, investigations.
Okay.
But to tell people to allay their fears, food items that are not yet expired, that have not reached the expiry date,
yet,
they are safe for consumption.
Okay.
They are only unsafe for consumption if they exceed
the expiry date. All right, thank you so much, Etienne Silva, as well as Alimatu Balde, Risk Communication Officer, and Communication Officer Etienne, for joining us. And I'm so sorry for having to change the topic at last minute. I know I had to change the topic last minute, but it came in handy because
we even love it when you invite us again and again.
We
have a lot of things to talk
exactly.
about. Anything that consumers want to know. Is what is happening.
Exactly.
Just give consumers the opportunity to know what is happening.
Exactly.
And
that's all we're asking
very
for.
simple for them.
And when you release, and when you have press releases saying this will happen, if it does not happen, come back and give us another press release to say A, B, C, and D is the reason why this did not happen. Right?
One thing I would like to assure you. Food is everyone's concern.
Right.
And its safety and quality concerns everybody. So if we are there and we are not doing our job to satisfy you, it is up to us to put us to task.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. So we will go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll head right on to a discussion. Is it a discussion or a debate? I think it's a debate continuation. We have Lamin Fall here, as well as Lala Ture, to actually talk about why men are actually dominating the political arena, and should there be a quota system or not? We'll be right back.
Thank you.
danga bëgg a jot sa xaalis si num gën a gaawee te yobba léegi ak Ria mun ngaa jot sa xaalis bàyyeekoo sa bitim réew si sa Q Money te doo si fay dara boo jotee ab xibaar si sa téléphone bi ne jot nga koppar bu bàyyeekoo sa bitim réew mun ngaa dem seet Q Money agent bu la gën a jege jot sa xaalis te doo si fay dara bu la neexee mun nga koo jëndee crédit Q Power wala jëfandikoo ak yeneen Q Money service yi gaaw na wóor na te noppale na pour am si lu la wóor woo ñu si 133 Q Money suñu kalpe lii dafa ànd ak sarta.
With so many things to do in a single day, it's important to have a network you can trust. When there's family and friends to connect with and business calls to make, you need a network that is reliable and fast. Talk longer, browse faster, go farther, and roam wider. When your network is solid, the world is your oyster. QCell, your trusted network in the Gambia.
Begin your SUV life. S-Pass Motors, the new authorized dealer for Kia. Visit us today or call us on 3522-222, 353-2222.
Want it? Order for it and pay quickly using Quick Pay on the Q Money platform. With great technology comes ease and convenience. Get a glimpse of what a comfortable life is with Q Money by dialing *323# now. Call 133 for more information. Q Money, Sunyu Kalpe.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. Special thanks goes to the Food Safety and Quality Authority for honoring our invitation and talking to us about issues of food safety and quality. So now we are having a conversation on quota system. There needs to be a quota system or not, women in politics, but just generally. First of all, before I get into this, welcome to the program, Lamin Fall, journalist, as well as Lala Toure, women's rights activist. Since we started, I've been given figures as to women's participation in politics, and the fact that it is an established fact that the political arena is not balanced when it comes to the amount of women, considering that 58 members of the Gambian National Assembly, only 6 are women. Some are even nominated, they were voted in. Out of 23 cabinet ministers, we only have 4 women. Out of 120 ward councillors, we only have 8 women who were voted in. And looking at the figures as well, we see that half of the population of the Gambia is at 50.5% are women. Voter registration, we know women are at 58%. This is the percentage when it comes to women participating, but they're not there yet. But the debate is not mine, or a conversation, I would call it. It's between the gentleman as well as Lala. So, Lamin, we'll start with you. When you came here on Wednesday, you talked about the fact that you feel like women should not be handpicked and given positions when it comes to the quota system, or just given National Assembly positions or ministerial positions just because they're women. They have to fight for it. That's what you said. So remind us.
Well, thank you very much, first off, for having me. Glad to be back. And of course, glad to share the platform with Lala, who has, by the way, been doing an amazing job as far as women empowerment and girls empowerment are concerned. Congrats for that. But like I said the other time when I was here, I am not totally against women empowerment or girls empowerment. This is not the case. This was not my position. My position exactly was, in any situation you see, there has to be some sort of a competition between people. And where a man and a woman are involved, you should not simply choose the woman because they are a woman. They have to be capable enough to hold that position. What I was saying is, I do not want us to make women feel that they're entitled. So much so that they feel unfairly treated in every situation, even whereas they have not put in the maximum effort in order to get what they want. This was exactly my position, and I maintain it.
Okay, so Lala, he's maintaining his position that women should not feel entitled. So do you think women are feeling entitled in the Gambia here? Is that the case, considering the political situation and the facts and figures I just gave?
Right. Thank you very much, Janabo, for having me again. It's an honor to be back here and to share the platform with Lamin. I'd just like to start with the conversation really should not be about whether or not we have a level playing ground, because obviously, based on the facts that we don't have a level playing ground for women when it comes to political representation. And the issue has not been participation. If you go back to this country's political history, since the 50s when political parties were being formed, women have been participating. But our participation, I keep saying this over and over again, has been limited in so many ways. So when we talk about having a quota system or a percentage representation of women in our cabinet, in our parliament, in our local governance, it's not entitlement. It's women saying we need the platforms created so we can equally participate and influence policies and be represented. And this cannot happen until we acknowledge the existing challenges, the existing patriarchal challenges that exist in our societies, that even whereas a woman and a man can compete for the same position, they have the right to compete for the same position, the chances are the woman is going to lose because of the patriarchy, because of economic challenges, because of societal challenges, because of religious challenges, because of political challenges, and the lack of political will and commitment to make sure that these women get into these positions. A classical example is in 2017, when we had a woman, very competent, very qualified, want to contest for the parliamentary election under her party's ticket. She was denied that opportunity. She was later nominated to be in that same parliament, and she has done exceptionally well. She has performed and executed her duties and her mandate as expected, even more than the man who was given the ticket that she was denied by her own political party. So the thing is, it's not women not wanting to come out and say, we want to contest too. But when women come out to contest, is the ground level. Is it fair enough? Does it provide equal opportunities for these women to challenge these men to win this position?
Yeah, so Lamin, I brought the same argument to you on Wednesday. You did not buy it. You accepted that these things are happening, yes, but you said we have to work towards changing the mindsets of people. Well, changing the mindsets of people, like you said, it doesn't happen in a day. It's been since in the 50s. Happen and the change is not there. So do you, after Lala saying all that she said, economic stereotypes, biases and everything, are you still with the view that we should work towards changing the mindsets of people for women to be in power?
That would be the base of the entire argument, of making sure that things change for the better. Because in my opinion, we are facing all of these issues because as kids growing up, there is a certain mentality that have been inducted into us. That is to say, women should be at home. Women should not go to school. Women should not do this. So there are certain stereotypes in our society that limit the things that women can do. And growing up, we internalize all of these things and accepted them. So it's all about going to the grassroots, trying to change the mentality and then coming up there. It's not something that's going to happen in a day. So the entire system should be blamed for this, not men particularly. It's the system that has failed women and the system again that has failed men and our society as well. So in a broader sense, our religious beliefs. Because as a society, we also tend to interpret religious teachings in a way that best benefit us as men. You know, as the leaders of the home, and in a way curtail what a woman can do. And that is where the problem is exactly. But when I come to the issue of entitlement, because when you feel so much entitled in a narcissistic way, you tend to have disappointments a lot. You tend to have disappointments a lot because even whereas you did not really deserve a position and it was given to someone else, you feel disappointed and unfairly treated, which should not be the case. This is my argument.
But don't you think it is okay to feel unfairly treated? I don't want to be the other party debating this. I'm not in it. But I'm just saying, don't you think it's normal for you to feel disappointed when you feel you deserve something and you are capable of manning it?
You alone thinking that you deserve something does not determine whether you're going to have that position. Remember, when it comes to elections, we have the electorates. The electorates are the most important when it comes to elections because they determine who sits on that National Assembly's position. They determine if it's going to be Lala, Balde, Jenaba, or myself, not us. So what we are trying to do here is changing the mentality of those people who are going to go on election day to vote. That is what we should do. Simply because you believe in yourself will not give you that position. You believe in yourself and also prove to people that they should vote for you.
Yeah, so before we lose this, Lala, he already accepted the biases that you talked about.
Oh, certainly.
Yes, the biases. But he's basing it on us trying to gradually change the mindsets of people. Do you think that's a way to go, to change people's mindset when it didn't happen years ago? Do you think it can happen anytime soon?
Just to clarify before she comes in, it's not about changing the mindset of people, but educating people.
Yeah, which when you educate, you change.
No, you educate them and then they themselves will change their own mindsets based on what you tell them.
So we should wait for that, right?
No, but this is why we have the National Council for Civic Education.
Right, okay.
It is their responsibility to do this.
Okay.
I just want to put it out there that there isn't a single situation that has required civic education that civic education has been conducted on that has entirely changed the mindsets of people in this country, especially when it comes to contentious issues like female representation in political leadership. Years back, a couple of decades back, this is something that was entirely unacceptable. Like even today in our homes, in our communities, you're told you cannot speak too loud, you cannot say certain things, you need to watch how you talk if you're talking to a guy. So what I have a problem with is this shouldn't be made a competition between men and women, which I am getting from a lot from what he's saying, that the problem should not be based on men, and this shouldn't be seen as a man-perpetrated issue, right? It's not a competition between men and women. And this is not something that, yes, civic education is going to play its part in changing the mindsets and changing the narratives. But is it going to entirely eradicate the problem? It is not. It is literally impossible for civic education to do that. This is why in countries of similar socio-political contexts, even countries that have no similarities with socio-political context in the Gambia, there are other measures that are taken to address this problem. So they do civic education, but they also come up with other frameworks. You go to Rwanda right now, you go to Burundi, you go to the United Republic of Tanzania, they have introduced 30% representation in their parliament because they've recognized that there is a problem. And unless they take steps, the government adopts frameworks and implements them effectively, there are going to be gaps and this problem is going to continue. Now, to talk about the realities, this is an issue of patriarchy. And in our societies, it's men and women that live in these societies. So the perpetrators of patriarchy, who are they? They're either men or they're women. So who, in this particular context, who does patriarchy benefit the most? It is the man. It is the men. Because over the years, our culture, our religion has put men in a certain box. Oh, you're a man, you're supposed to be strong, you're not supposed to cry, you're supposed to lead. You know, the woman, you're supposed to be soft, you're supposed to be calm, you're not supposed to be outspoken. Nice. Exactly. So these stereotypes have found their way, infiltrated their ways into our political leadership structures. And like I said, it is okay for women to say, we've been participating for so long, we've been voting in for men to lead us for so long, we don't see the change that we want to see, we want to lead too. Give us your vote. It's not entitlement. We have been given our votes. We have been voting. We have what it takes. And the problem is when it comes to political leadership, when it comes to men, nobody questions qualifications. Nobody says, oh, is he deserving of this? You know, our recently concluded presidential election, when Marisa came out to say she was going to contest, it was a question of, is she educated? Whether academic, you know, all of these things that they don't necessarily ask men in our political landscape. But whenever a woman comes out, these are the questions that matter. Is she married? Did she have a child out of wedlock? How many of our male politicians have children outside of wedlock? Well, nobody questions that. So my point is, if we are going to question qualification, we question the qualification of both genders. Are they both qualified? Do they both have what it takes to run this office? But it shouldn't be when a woman comes out to say, I want to run, oh, are you deserving enough? If you don't win it and you feel like it's not fair treatment, that's entitlement. It is not. It's not it's okay for women to say, since 1950, we supported the establishment of political parties in the Gambia. We supported the fight for independence in the Gambia. We supported the formation of political parties and political processes since the first presidential election in the 1980s. We form more than half of the voter registration process and actually vote more in our country's electoral process. We also want to be represented. That is not entitlement.
And we are the incumbents. Women are the incumbents as well.
When you look at the political situation in our country, the campaigns, I mean, women participate more when it comes to voters registration. Women are always in the forefront when it comes to politics in the Gambia. But at the end of the time, the mental picture that you see when it comes to leadership, it's men. I mean, you see men in front of everything. But I think we still have to work on the society. It's still the notion that the society have. I mean, a lot of work should be done, you know, and this work, it's not an easy work.
Yeah, so to add on to that, Lamin, so Lala here gave examples of countries that actually have women in their parliament, like putting forward a deliberate policy to have women in it, for example, in Rwanda, and it's working for them. So do you think we should give it a try in Gambia, finally, in a way, when we give it a try, it will be normalized because they see women there. Gradually, a quota system can be phased out and women can compete normally because it's normalized in a way. Because in Rwanda, it's normal. A child growing up now will be able to say, oh, because I see Lala is the Speaker of the National Assembly, I can do it too. It's not just about the Speaker, but it's about the majority that these young people see in front of them that makes them motivated to also take on these positions. What do you think?
You know, I think this conversation really, we are all in the same direction, because we are not here in order to say women should not feel that they deserve positions. No, we're all here to make sure that women get positions that they deserve. And I like the fact that Lala mentioned a few things that in a way complement what I've said, which is the fact that we need a total system change. And I like the fact that she also gave, example of other countries that have adopted a system that is now paying dividend.
Right.
This is amazing, because what this will do is that, like you've said, the young people who are babies going to school, they look up to these people. And that is why I say we need to start with the society as well. Because if a child is born today, the child is male, you have this notion that is constantly being repeated to the child. You are a man, you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to be vulnerable.
Don't smile.
You are not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. What all of that does, it limits what the child can do. And same goes for the woman. And then you have the religious effects as well that will also come into play. So our society has a way of curtailing what we can do as a man and as a woman. And that is why I think the problem is. But not to say that women should not be in a position of power. Of course, women should be in a position of power, because if you look at statistics, it is telling you that women in power, tend to do more than even men. And this can clearly be seen even in the Gambian context.
We've seen a whole lot of it.
For example, Rohi Malik Low in Banjul, she's doing an amazing job. How many men have held in position in the past and have not done much that people has seen being development in this country? So indeed, women should be in a position of power. But how they get there also matters to me. I am of the opinion that no one should be handed a free meal. This is my position.
But do you think this is still a free meal, considering women have been fighting for so long? You're still not convinced?
No, people should not be handed a free meal in the sense that you need to fight for what you want.
But considering they've been fighting underground to get there, how about that?
But how exactly have they been fighting?
I just want to know, can you please clarify, fighting in what context?
Exactly.
Okay. You have a position that is up for grabs. You have a guy who wants that position and a woman who wants that position. There are certain requirements that are to be met in order to be able to get that position. If a woman has that requirement and the man has that requirement, or one of them falls short of a requirement, I see no reason why it should be given to the woman simply because she is a woman and has not met all of the requirements. This is my position.
But Lamin, do you also agree with the fact that sometimes even if the woman is capable of it and the man is capable of it, because of the way the woman dressed, or
it's not even
for example, it's as simple as sometimes that. Yeah, it's as simple as that sometimes.
It's not about,
also,
it's not about dressing.
It's not.
It happens.
I think what I see the point that Lamin is trying to argue from, and it's a point of argument for a lot of people that I've encountered, that this is tokenism. Women should not be given a free right to win tickets to contest under their political parties. But take a close look at the internal political party structures that we have in the Gambia right now. What is the percentage of women that are represented in their leaderships? And they go through congresses, and women contest for these positions. They contest for it, and they're qualified for it. I've witnessed congresses in this country that I have observed where women would go to contest for a position and a man would go to contest for the same position. The woman has better qualifications, has more than what it takes to handle the position, but it is given to the man because the man more for gana yaga jigen. And we've seen more examples of what I mentioned in my opening statement, how in 2017 in the Sarkunda West constituency, a young woman came out to say, I want to contest for this. I have the qualifications, and she did have the qualifications. It was not given to her. She was nominated, and she's now in parliament, and she is doing exceptionally well. Way better than a lot of people in that parliament who were nominated to run on the political party tickets, and they did, and they're in that parliament, and they're just sitting there and not representing their constituents as they're supposed to. So the question is not women wanting a free ride. In 2017, there was an increased number of women that wanted to contest for National Assembly elections. And they went to their political parties and to get their tickets. How many of them were given political party tickets to contest for that election? You could count it. Right now, as we are speaking, we have so many women that I have trained that are going back to their political parties, have already declared their candidacy, and are going back to contest for those tickets to run after the elections, we would have this conversation again. You can literally count how many of them are going to pass through that stage.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of qualification. When it comes to internal political party structures, it is not a question of qualification. It is a question of gender bias. It is a question of kan mo fi gana yaga, kan mo fi gana am bat. In our society, when you talk about bat, it is associated to men. We come in secondary, right? So if you look at all these factors, you know, whereas everybody knows the work that I do with political parties. Everybody knows the work that I do within our governance structures and all of that. If I were to go to Comba South and say, this political party, I want to be the person to run for this ticket, people know that I can do the job. People know that I have what it takes to go into the parliament. It will be a question of, I'm Najikar, I'm Mujikar, ki halela, dafa yaradeku, dafa li. I am literally not going to get that ticket.
All of those things matter.
Because of, like he said, one thing I agree with what he said, it comes down to the electorates and who they think is qualified to lead them. But what is the mindset? What informs the decisions of those electorates?
No, that should now be the bone of contention, which is the system and the fact that our society sees women as inferior to men.
But do you think that's easily changed?
No, that is
do
not
we have
easy.
to wait for that change?
No, but you don't have to wait for the change. Change comes when we all come together and fight it.
I totally agree with him on that.
That is how change comes about.
I totally agree with him on that, that there is a need to change how we think, our societal thoughts and perspectives of female leadership. But that is not to limit all the efforts to that, just trying to change that. There are other ways to actually get to the goal. This is like a goal. It's a vision that we want. And there are different entry points. Changing societal thoughts and perspectives is one entry point. Using legal frameworks to get there is another entry point. Using quota systems to get there is another entry point. So it's not just to limit it to changing societal narratives, which I agree with him, needs to be done. Because these are people that vote. These are people that participate in electoral processes. So there is a need to change their mindset to say that there is a need for women to equally be represented in political processes because they have what it takes to influence policies, to take part in national decision-making processes, to actually lead. But there's also a need to have the government, the political parties, take it upon themselves as a responsibility to come up or support these frameworks that have been introduced to say we're going to adopt this as our contribution, to take it upon ourselves to ensure that we create the needed platforms for women because we acknowledge the existing challenges that limit their representation.
Okay, so now, because time's up already, Lamin, time is, well, oh my God, I can't ask. The moment I ask, somebody's going to beat me up and I'm going to get confused and I'm not going to be able to ask anything again. So unfortunately, I can't ask this question, Lamin. But I just, because you brought it up, I just hope you could answer it for us, talking about changing people's mindsets. But unfortunately, we can't engage you on this. But looking forward to like having another conversation. And I'm so happy that both of you agree with some of the things that each person is saying. Just the difference between the two of you has to do with if the ground is level or not. And you think the ground is level, but women should not get it easy at all. But anyway, me and Lamin.
No one should get it easy. I'm
not no problem. Yo, dal, no problem. I'm not Balde mom. That's not. Balde decided to keep quiet so that they wouldn't involve him in it. But thank you so much for joining us, Lamin Fall, as well as Lala Toure on the program. It's always good to have you guys here. So we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll head right on to our sports update. Do stay tuned.
nga noro tarale birin dunia be datila ada ben na baluwo konole nsulata noro pour kanna do kuolke kanna bungol lo kanna fengol fi hanim fanan kanna kanunyolje noro ka kuol sone yande woto kiusel ya kiu pawa sanya kutole nati isela kas pawa sotono katabake anin ñing kiwsel la ñing koot kuto ila dunia malandi anin ñing star 363 has katabake hanna tara ibela suwo kono ila office ko anin dulalo star 363 has kumandi sai kiw power ki la dunia malandi kiwsel suñu boss ntolle nga silo walang dole mol noma
danga bëgg a jot sa xaalis si num gën a gaawee te yobba léegi ak Ria mun ngaa jot sa xaalis bàyyeekoo sa bitim réew si sa Q Money te doo si fay dara boo jotee ab xibaar si sa téléphone bi ne jot nga koppar bu bàyyeekoo sa bitim réew mun ngaa dem seet Q Money agent bu la gën a jege jot sa xaalis te doo si fay dara bu la neexee mun nga koo jëndee crédit Q Power wala jëfandikoo ak yeneen Q Money service yi gaaw na wóor na te noppale na pour am si lu la wóor woo ñu si 133 Q Money suñu kalpe lii dafa ànd ak sarta
Want it? Order for it and pay quickly using Quick Pay on the Q Money platform. With great technology comes ease and convenience. Get a glimpse of what a comfortable life is with Q Money by dialing *323# now. Call 133 for more information.
Now we head right on to Sports Wall. Momodu Gajaga.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. The Africa Cup of Nations has come to an end. Senegal are the champions. Les Lions du Teranga. The Teranga Lions of Senegal finally, after they missed out on 2 occasions, in 2002 first, and it was Aliou Cisse who was the captain of the team and missed the penalty against Cameroon. And in 2019 against Algeria, they lost 1-0. But last night, it was a beautiful occasion for the Senegalese, and deservedly so. They beat Egypt 4-2 on penalty shootouts after extra time. So, fantastic Senegal. We say big congratulations. And you would see in your pictures as the 3 players in the competition who have really performed fantastically well. That is Edouard Mendy, the goalkeeper, the best goalkeeper of the competition, and as well as Vincent Aboubakar, who is the golden ball winner, the golden boot winner rather. He scored 8 goals in the competition. We've also seen another player, that is Sadio Mane, player of the competition. So hearty congratulations to Senegal. But let's talk about the coach, Aliou Cisse. A massive redemption for him. As the coach, he used to face a lot of criticism in Senegal. In fact, some supporters wanted him to be sacked because he hasn't brought Senegal glory in terms of winning the trophy. And eventually, finally, after being as the head coach of Senegal for 7 to 8 years, imagine, winning the Africa Cup of Nations title as the coach. That's why he was all over the place. He was so emotional, and it's something that is really, really beautiful. And finally, about the Africa Cup of Nations, Abu Gamal, or if you like, Abu Gabassi, the goalkeeper of Egypt, who really performed fantastically well in this competition. For the first 5 minutes, he saved Sadio Mane's penalty, and then coming into the penalty shootout also, he was able to save one of Senegal's penalties, and Sadio Mane, with that winning penalty kick, could not make any mistakes at the time, and Senegal emerged champions. But thanks to this goalkeeper also, he has really performed very well for Egypt, and he was man of the match in this particular game against Senegal. So that's it for the AFCON.
All right, thank you so much, Momodu Gajaga, for joining us on Sports Wall. I'm afraid due to time constraints, we have to let you go. So that is all we have for you in this edition. See you tomorrow with another exciting program.
yelloona ndox mu set te ndox mu set dafa bokk ci dundi doomu aadama te biir kat amul seetu waral na lépp lu fay dugg dafa war a doon li nga xamante ne ni du indil doomu aadama bi loraange ci wàllu wéru yaram One Stop Water Solution Limited ñu ngi fii ci biir réew taxaw temm fexe pour gis ne doomu aadama bu ne di nga naan ndox moo xamante ne ni ndex mu sell te wóor la ndax indil nañ leen ay xeetu filtres yi nga xamante ne ni mun ngeen koy jëfandikoo ci seeni pompe yi ci biir réew moo xam booxol ngay jëfandikoo wala pompe nawek yi ne bépp xeetu filtre bi nga xamantene ni dina la indil wérgu yaram musal la ci loraange amal nañ leen ko ci biir réew am nañ 10-inch filter set of 3 bii nag ñett lay àndal bu ci ne ak li muy liggéey bokk na ci 5 micron pp sediment filter bii nag mooy segg ndox mi ba mu set génne fa lépp li nga xamantene ni warta ànd ak ndox moomu bala nga koy jëfandikoo gat granule carbon filter bii nag mooy segg génne lépp lu xeetoog chemical ak organique yi nga xamantene ñoom ñoo nekk ci biir ndox mi sellal ndox mi ba waral mu soppi li nga xamantene mom la ndox mi di saf mu soppi cafin gi def ko ndox mu sellati óor CTO block carbon filter bi nak du yem rek ci segg ndox mi sellal ko be mu sell waaye nag daf koy yokk ay ngeeneel yi nga xamantene ni day baax ci wér gu yaramu doomu aadama bi dëgëral waaye tamit yàggal lool sa yuur wi am nañ tamit 12-inch filter set of 3 boobu it liggéey bu nu mel lay def ñetti filter yépp benn bu ne ak lu muy liggéey am nañ 10-inch post carbon 10-inch coconut carbon 75 GPD PO1 membrane bi
amal nañ leen bépp xeetu water tank tàmbalee ko ci 500 litres 5000 ba ci 1000 litres ak plumbing fittings
kon nag mbokk yi bu ngeen buggee naan ndex yu sellate wóor seeti leen One Stop Water Solution Limited suñu makkaan bu mag baa nga foofa ca Sukuta Highway Mariama Kunda Johnson wala nga call ñu ci 505 5691 796 8272 One Stop Water Solution Limited ndox mu set mooy yàggal